we are at zeros, and I'm crocheting. We wait. What the hell? People about to have an accident. These people just don't look. They just think they're the only people on the road. And she just backing on out like there ain't nobody else could be possibly driving through here. Mm, 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 mm. Okay, so anyway, I am crocheting in the car, and I don't know how I'm gonna do this. Well, maybe y'all will be able to see me. Maybe not. Uh, but yeah. So this is another bucket hat that I'm working on, and it's just some of that yarn from the dollar store, that premier yarn in those small balls. I think it's called just yarn. And then it was also a ball of this gray yarn that I had that was from Knit Picks. And I made a cowl with it, and this is what's left. This little bit right here. But this is a H Susan Bates hook. Everybody knows, well, most people know that Susan Bates. Oh, Susan Bates hooks are my favorite hooks of all time. I've been using them since I began adulting, became an adult crocheter. I bought the hooks that I wanted to use because my grandma and them, all they used were those boy. Everything was boy in the house. BOYE hooks, the thread crochet hooks, the needles, the thread. Everything was boy. Boy and Aunt Lydia. And what we practiced on was actually the tobacco string, which was a cotton twine that we used to string up the tobacco in the old-fashioned tobacco barns, where you actually had to be going up climbing up the side of the barn inside and hanging the sticks across the roof rafters of the barn. And I mean, them suckers would be packed deep. And you had more than one level of rafters that you had to climb up on to hang up those tobacco poles. And so what we would do at the end of the season is, after the tobacco was dried and everything, and then it was pulled off of those strings and placed on these large square burlap that had like this ringed hoop in the middle of it, and it was packed down. And then they took it off to Goldsboro and sold it to tobacco cigarette company reps there. And then they were purchased, and then they were shipped off to whatever cigarette company purchased that tobacco. Now, mind you, the tobacco that you hung up in the rafters, you got like that, was because it was like a handmade deal. Those were usually purchased for cigar making, because the leaves were intact. They weren't just shoved into this giant bin and placed inside this drying furnace to dry very quickly. These were hung up in a barn that had either propane or wood. We even had a couple that had the old wood heat stoves that kept it dry in there and everything. So this tobacco was sold at a premium, because it was to be rolled into cigars, fine cigars. Now, we always collected the twine, and we rolled it into the balls, and we would try to see who could get the biggest ball by the end of the summer. And then what our grandma and them would take the balls from us, and they would take that cotton and put it in hanks, and then they would soak it in borax soap with a little bit of Clorox in there to whiten it. And that's what they used to teach us how to crochet, how to knit. They would make these real pretty doilies and tablecloths and stuff from that tobacco twine. and you'd have never known that it was tobacco twine, that's where it came from. You'd have thought, that it came from the store, but that it was some kind of cotton yarn from the store, but it wasn't. It was plain old tobacco twine that we used to hang up the tobacco on the sticks. So, and we also used that tobacco twine to string up the pole beans, the peas, and any type of climbing beans, snap beans, whatever kind of climbing bean they might be growing. We use that to do that. And I'm gonna show you guys how we used to do it. I'm gonna set up a demo for y'all for probably this tomorrow if it's not raining too much. We got that tropical storm is supposed to brush by here, so the wind is starting to pick up as it picks up speed and then goes off to sea. And we got like another system to the north of us, so we're kind of in a squeeze zone. So usually when you're in a squeeze zone, the wind, it becomes windier. The wind speeds up from those two storm systems brushing up against each other like that. So it's got a nice breeze right now. So yeah, and I'm hoping we get a nice rain from there, because that'll help my fig trees go ahead and mature. The figs will start maturing with a nice bit of rain, and I won't have to go out and water nothing if they get a nice good soaking rain. But yeah, obviously that squash was supposed to be just like a regular squash. It's not. It's a vining squash. It almost reminds me of those gray Hubbard squashes. It's definitely not a watermelon, and it's some type of squash. And the squash that's growing up there is getting a sizable. It's not a cushaw because it doesn't have that skinny neck and then going into a big body. So it's not a cushaw. And I wish it had been cushaw, but it wasn't. I didn't grow any cushaw this year, so that's something for next year. But I'm planning next year's garden already, and I'm going to be moving the sunchokes. I wasn't thinking about us having to move around those sunchokes to harvest the figs, because we pruned that fig tree back. I mean, like, easy pruned it back, and it came back even bigger and better. Even more. It's loaded down with even more figs, I think, than we had last year. It's crazy. So yeah. So I'm gonna be moving those sunchokes to a different area, and I'll figure out what to do with that little section right there. Probably be the pepper zone. Have different peppers there for my husband. Peppers, as the baby would say, peppers. But we're back in the car. I'm gonna let y'all go. But he's back in the car, so I'm gonna let y'all go. But yeah, everybody's a lot of traffic compared to what it's been. Y'all take care. See if I can find the X.